pass legislation to legitimize hand grenades. Don't you think we could take out quite a few more people with a hand grenade, something that explodes, than something that sends a single shell toward them?
Jim, my friend, you're way behind the times. In the state of Florida, you can have a machine gun, which is far more effective than a hand grenade.
Oh my God, Bob! We'll be able to control everybody.
With a hand grenade, you got to get kind of close to your intended victim. With a machine gun, you can sit several blocks away and still pick them off. You're just way behind the times, Jim.
Well, I cannot wait for this. Was it October 1st?
October 1, 2 weeks, 2 days from today. Isn't it great? I'll bet you're really excited, huh?
What a safe society we're going to have at that time forward.
I can hardly look forward to standing in the bank, waiting there to deposit my meager paycheck, and in comes somebody with a couple of pearl-handled 38 strapped on his side. Oh, it'll be great.
It'll be bliss.
Oh, just like the old days, huh?
I wanted to ask you about a couple of other things.
Sure, what's that?
First of all, I'm usually in the car during the day, and I don't get to talk to you very often, but I have prayed for 2 years that you would get back on days. And there are a whole lot of people like me.
You see the power of prayer?
That's it. I'm a believer. That realize that you are a tremendous asset during the day, and I'm just tickled to death that you're back on.
Well, I'm thrilled to be back on in the daytime, too.
Well, it's great.
There was a time in talk radio when nighttime was where it was at, but things have changed, and nighttime is no longer where it is at in talk radio.
Well, it seems to me, and you've probably gotten some calls about this, have you gotten nicer since you've been on days? And also, I haven't heard you call anybody, and this isn't an invitation, but I haven't heard you call anybody a Neanderthal in a long time.
That's a fair question, and it's a question that I asked myself, and I actually was able to answer for myself over the weekend, so I'll give you the answer. Have I gotten nicer in the daytime? Yes and no. First of all, at WFLA, it is Jim in Palm Harbor as opposed to hi, Palm Harbor, you're on the air, so it is a tad more personal. And even if I say, you're all washed, you're just a wet wash rag, you don't know what you're talking about, Jim, it somehow sounds better than, you're just an old wet wash rag, you don't know what you're talking about, fella. So that is one thing that, while it doesn't really take the edge off, it gives the impression. The second thing, at night at the other station, the callers tended to be older and a little bit denser. And it is the older, denser caller that I lose temper with quicker, or lose patience with. And I am not hassled as much by that type of call. So when they come, and they will eventually, yes, you will hear me call people Neanderthals and get off my phone, you jerk, and so forth and so on. I haven't had any jerks on the phone to tell to get off.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's just great you're back on during the days. One other thing I wanted to ask you about.
Sure, what's that?
Did you happen to catch the Donahue show this morning?
No, I did not.
Okay. I know that it's not intended as a slam for Mr. Norman, but I know how the fundamentalists are always working on getting you converted.
Mm-hmm.
And Shirley MacLaine was the guest on the show. And she was talking about her new book, It's All in the Playing, and about her metaphysical experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm a person who has a deep-seated faith, but not necessarily do I exercise it in the normal religious channels. And I thought about you during the program. And
Shirley MacLaine is a kook.
Excuse me?
Shirley MacLaine is a kook.
She's something else. If you can get past the messenger, there's a message in there somewhere. You're right. She's kind of kooky. And but the way she writes, and certainly the way she feels, I think there's some real tangible benefits to her theology.
Well,
I wish you would have seen the show.
What I know of her theology, I find to be even more laughable than the fundamentalist who thinks that, he can pray to God for $50 to help him cover the rent this month, and that God is going to take, time away from ending a drought to give that particular problem some work. Give me a break with Shirley. Come on, we just keep coming back over and over and over again until we get it right.
Well, she didn't really go into the reincarnation issue, and there were a few people who wanted her to touch on it. She didn't get to that point, and I haven't heard her expound on it. But the general theme of what she had to share this morning was...
Which was basically what?
Well, it's kind of like the Norman Vincent Peale, the positive mental attitude. You shape your own environment, or you cultivate your own garden. Other people aren't...
Yeah, but your mother used to tell you that.
Well,
she was
maybe,
right.
Well, and I'm certainly not going to argue with Mother Apple Pie or Lemonade, but I think those are sound principles, and there's a lot of people who can benefit from them.
Well, of course they're sound principles, but they have nothing to do with what Shirley believes is a spirit in the sky. What goes round comes round. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's
four under my front seat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me tell you, I called in and I'd like to thank Tom last week.
One second, Rocky. Why do you carry two different calibers?
Well, I got the 38 in my back pocket because I don't have to reach under the front seat and put it in my pocket.
Yeah, but as an example, Rocky, who would you blow away with a 38, and who would you blow away with a 44?
It depends on it depends on the situation.
Uh-huh.
I've got the 38 in my back. In other words, if I go in a little general guy wants to hold up a store or something,
yeah,
I'll just might blow him away. But if I'm in my car and somebody tries something, or if somebody I don't like, I might not shoot them. I might shoot the car. I'm not going to wind up like the Carter kids. Remember the Carter case on the interstate on I-75 where they blew away those two people because they were with two blacks with white women?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's what they done. But I don't want to do something like that. But I called for two
Well, why don't you carry a 22 for minor skirmishes?
22s ain't got enough power.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're not really that mad, you just kind of want to hurt somebody a little bit, not killing.
Well, I've got something else. I'll tell you what you can do, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, what's that?
I've got a Blues Oiler, okay?
Oh, who?
It's a Blues Oiler. It's an oiler.
Blues Oiler.
It's an oiler. You know what an oiler is?
No, I don't.
Well, anyway, it's a can with a pump on it, and it squirts out oil.
Yeah, sure. You mean like, the old railroad engineers used to carry.
Now, a Blues Oiler is very big and powerful. I've got the nastiest, blackest oil you've ever seen.
No.
Now, if somebody does something
Couldn't you get any white oil?
No. If somebody does something to you don't like, you just follow them into a parking lot, maybe could be a Wendy's or a Hardee's, but I don't eat there, but I mean, most people do.
What do you have against Hardee's?
Places. Maybe it could be Snuffy Smith's or somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But what you do is you spray it on their car, and you talk about a mess. I'll tell you what you do. You take clear oil, put it on the guy's windshield, and when it rains, he turns them windshield wipers on. Hey, I watched a guy in a Woolworth store one time. I shot his windshield, and he went out and bought 2 rolls of Visa. That man stood there half an hour. And in the parking lot, those little wads, man, there must have been 20 or 30 of them suckers all around his car. You talk about a man that got mad.
Oh,
boy,
Rocky,
did I
you
get
know how to have a good time. You really know how to have a good time.
Man, I have all kinds of fun.
Oh,
but like I said before,
a fun guy.
I wanted to thank Tom. The Tom that took over your program last week?
Oh,
that was crying the blues because I call in, I'm just a taxpayer like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank him for the free publicity. I'd like to thank Tom for the free publicity. And I'd also like to say something about Valrico Bob.
Oh, yeah.
You know who my favorite 2 callers are?
Who's that, Rocky?
Lionel and
yeah.
Valrico Bob.
Son of a gun.
Now, let me tell you something. Me and Valrico Bob had a little bit of opinion of difference here.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And
I didn't actually
think maybe I busted his bubble.
You're kidding.
And I would also like to comment that he was talking about the Great Purple Heart. Well, I'm going to further bust and smash his bubble. Let me tell you something, buddy. I was in a pawn shop 2 weeks ago.
What were you
Saw
doing?
A Purple Heart in there
Whoa,
for $4.95.
Rocky, have you hit hard times or something?
No, I go in there and buy ammunition.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, that's where I got the 357 Magnum I got.
You got a 357 too?
Yeah, I got one of them too.
Wow.
Well, I know I collect
only
guns.
got 2 hands, Rocky.
Well, I've got a little arsenal here. I like to, feel secure.
Yeah, well,
I am a family man, and I don't want no harm to come to the kids, and somebody's got to uphold our law.
Mm-hmm.
But, Valrico Bob could either be 3 places. He could be in a rental shop in a VCR checking out another John Wayne movie, or he's either in a pawn shop looking for Merle Purple Hearts.
Well, you enjoy John Wayne movies, don't you?
No, I hate the man.
You're kidding.
I don't like the man because he was he was just trash. He was a trashy person. He
Holy
had
cow.
no morals. He slept with teenage girls and wore elevator shoes, and he probably never... I doubt if a man knew on the front end of a horse from the back end of a horse. John
Holy
Wayne just
moly.
didn't have it.
Wow.
John, hey, he wasn't that good of an actor,
Yeah.
okay? There are good actors, but he ain't one of them. I'm sorry. Ronald Reagan, he wasn't much of an actor either.
You wouldn't be trying to start something now, would you,
No,
Rocky?
I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not trying to start nothing, because like I say, I like Valrico Bob because he's got that great New York accent. And he shows the Yankee side. You know, he shows the Yankee side because I'm going to tell you
A little too liberal for you, huh, Rock?
Huh?
He's a little too liberal for you.
No, I'll tell you, he made a point a long time ago, and what it was is, you know, the Southern people treated the colored people a lot nicer than the Northern people did, and they started that war. And they took them slaves away from us because they wanted to put them in them factories. That's all that was. And England backed them. Them people don't care no more about the blacks than we do.
Between hosts, but...
Let me tell you something, Valrico Bob. I got nothing against you. I know you're a Yankee and all that, and I don't hold that against you because some Yankees did some good things. Henry Ford was a Yankee, but he was okay. So was John Dillinger. But let me tell you, don't be ashamed or afraid to call Bob Lassiter because nobody's going to cut you down. Nobody's going to make fun of you. We're all friends here. We're all taxpayers. We're all
except
callers.
for Southside Johnny.
What about Southside Johnny?
Well, he kind of tends to cheat on his taxes.
Well, you know, he's made up for it. You know, he's suffering now.
Yeah.
He's suffering now. He don't sleep good at night.
Maybe we could take up a collection for him, you know?
I heard Southside last week. I've been listening, but I ain't been calling, have I? You know why? Because
Rocky, that's one of the decent things about you.
I tell you why I
out
did
your
it.
calls.
I was waiting for Valrico Bob to call.
No.
I was waiting on him.
No.
Yeah, man, I like him. But I wish he would call in and realize that, hey, I can buy a Purple Heart in a pawn shop, at a flea market. Makes no difference. I can buy a Congressional Medal of Honor if I want to. I can buy it at the back of
Don't you guys have your own medals in the Klan?
What?
Don't you guys have your own medals and ribbons in the Klan?
Yes, we do have our own medals. Matter of fact, I have a great collection of Klan paraphernalia.
That you earned?
You better believe I earned it, buddy. I earned every bit of it. And I've got some that I bought that was from Knoxville, Tennessee, made in 1917. I've got Klan paraphernalia from Atlanta, Georgia. One of the strongest Klan organizations right now is in the Northeast. It is is a northern branch. So these people that want to come down here, and you know why those people down there with AIDS, the three boys down there.
The Ray family.
You know why that Ray family is having such a hard time?
Why is that?
Mr. Ray wore that hat with a Confederate flag on the front. Did you see that in the paper?
You think that's the reason?
That's why they're giving them such a hard time. I think it was the northern people come in there, moved in there. They're the ones causing all the trouble. We were happy here, and they come down there, and they brought this AIDS down from New York, and then they get the kids in the school down here, then they don't want to mix or mingle with them. And when he wore that Confederate cap, I said to myself, Mr. Ray, you made a big mistake. You shouldn't have done that. He should have wore a Union flag up there, and they probably wouldn't have had all this problem. But I heard what the people were saying on the radio. They said all them people down there were Hicks. Ain't all them people down there Hicks. So what if they are from the South? Is there anything wrong with that? These people are forgetting something. And what they're forgetting is they're intruding. We were here first. Okay? It's just like the little thing that you said, and these other people talking about they don't like the Cubans coming in here changing the language. Well, we don't like the northern people's rules. This tax, these people are screaming and hollering about and crying about. Whose idea was that? It was a bunch of Yankees and a Cuban. That's who did that. We had nothing to do with that. And we're just sitting here lapping it in. Well, I tell you, someday the still's going to run over, and the river's going to run dry, and it's going to bust, and they're all going to be in trouble, and they're going to look back and say, I was right. These people, a lot of them, most of them, agree with me. They really agree with me. And that's what relieves my heart. You know, the difference between a man with a purple heart and a man without a purple heart, in a lot of cases, the heart that pumps that blood through your body is red.
Well, Rocky, on that note, that colorful note, I'm going to end this conversation for today.
Thank you very much, and you have a nice time. And come on, Valrico Bob. Express yourself, boy. Don't be so afraid.
Would you like to get in on the pool?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't have nothing to gain. I just want the man to call in. I enjoy his conversation. I want him to speak for all these Yankees. Let all these Southerners and Northerners, let him hear what the man's got to say.
Well, thank you for the colorful call, Rock.
Right.
Hey, are you going to the David Bowie concert?
What?
You going to the David Bowie concert?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Now, when the Rolling Stones come, I'll be in the front row.
Yeah, well, Mick and David did a video together.
Yeah, but have you seen that thing with Tina Turner, him advertising that Pepsi? I ain't crazy about that.
Okay.
But I don't hold that against him. I like David Bowie.
Take care, Rock.
Right.
All right, there he goes. Great American. Have a good life there, Rock. 12.
To yourself making me follow Rocky.
Well, that's why I put a commercial in between.
Oh, that helps a little. I feel like a woodpecker trying to follow a carpenter.
It's not easy.
Yeah. Anyway, you know who's at it again? Your
Who?
friends and mine, the National Federation of Decency.
Ah, yes, at the farm stores over the weekend.
Ah, you read the newspaper article.
Well, I
was
actually
down
heard
there
it on the
Saturday.
news this morning.
Oh, I passed by there Saturday. It's raining. I mean, it's coming down like nobody's business. And here's these 7 drowned rats staying out there in the rain. Their little signs are getting all mildewed. I pulled into the parking lot and hung out with them for, 15, 20 minutes. It's an amazing sight. In this kind of rain, you should see what the people in the cars going by will do. They'll stop, roll down their windows at risk of getting drenched, and stick all kinds of things out the window at them.
Like what?
Quite a few fingers.
Uh-huh.
One female rear end.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't want to describe what I think one of the other ones was.
No.
It came out of the backside of a van. I'm not sure.
No.
Amazing. People yelling all kinds of obscenities, throwing paper cups. It was a wild show, I'll tell you.
Oh, they're such nice folks, too.
Oh, they are. They
Such
really
nice
didn't deserve
folks.
that.
Yeah, we'll have to get their new P.O. box and give it out again and a new phone number for people who'd like to get in touch with them. Why would you have boxing gloves on?
To fight you.
Me?
Yeah.
Why's that?
Because that's what I've been doing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so maybe you could take yours off, too.
Uh-huh.
One more, how do you say, figuratively, you all throw the balls out, and I either catch them or hit them back with a baseball bat. That's figuratively speaking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got an interesting thought. Would anybody like to vote for Representative Dole's wife instead of him for president? Because she's pretty intelligent and beautiful and nice and everything.
I have no great problem with Dole.
Well, I do.
Of all the Republican announced candidates or soon-to-announce candidates, he is the most acceptable to me.
Well, I met a governor of Alaska when I was delegate from McGovern, and they said some terrible things about Dole. So I don't like him.
Like what?
Oh, that once they had a hypothetical thing. If Americans it was top secret, if Americans were held top secret, like a prison in the United States, and it was not ethically right, and it was top secret, confidential, and all that stuff, if he would, open his mouth on it, and he said no. It was a strange hypothetical situation, but he said he'd keep it secret.
I'm talking about. Well, I know most of the calls have been pathetic, too. All of these delightful things that I brought up for your consideration, plus gave you the opportunity to bring up further additional things. I wasn't really counting on John Wayne and, they're busing my kids to the south side when I have no idea what you're talking about, but nonetheless, here it is, a great opportunity to talk on the air. A fantastic opportunity to talk on the air. And you people aren't taking advantage of it. Oh, for shame, for shame. I appreciate it. It is the lunch hour. I appreciate that. But I cannot come in here every day and lead you by the nose. No. And so many of you were excited in days past and never did get a chance. Never did quite get a chance to bring your ideas forth, actually over the radio where people could hear you. I mean, I know it's Monday. I appreciate it is the lunch hour, but this is what it's all about. Wide open, free-form, unrestricted talk. Your chance to get down and dirty. Your chance to be mean and miserable and take cheap shots at virtually anybody. Lois in Gulfport. Hi, you're on the air, WFL.
Hi, baby.
Oh, brother.
Hey, listen, you got to bring Sophie and Martha, though, because I dig dogs, Daddy. So it's going to be a biggie. I got a doctor flying down from Ithaca. He said if he doesn't get a big football injury that day with the cartilages, he said I can take care of 3 broken legs because he's a manic, too. But he said I'll be there with bells on, baby. You're invited, and Mike Serio, of course, and Joyce and Gordy Bird. So, and you might try Dick Gregory. I don't know him that much, though. No, don't do that yet. I've got to listen, and I'm busy as a bee. You know, some bees aren't so busy we can't buzz any slower. I'll see you at the party, baby, October 3rd. And bring Mary and the dogs. Right?
Whatever you say.
Bring them.
Whatever you say. I'm easy to get along with. True. Oh, this is really. You're kidding me. Luscious Connolly. Hi, you're on the air.
Mr. Connolly?
Uh-huh.
And I want to talk about my friend Bob.
Okay.
For Rico Bob. He's a nice man.
Uh-huh.
And he's a purple organization called 87.
Uh-huh.
I was the vice president there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's my junior vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob Rico is a very, very nice man.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see what Ricky, what that Ricky was. That guy just got through talking about him.
Yeah, Ricky, right.
I don't see why he talks about him like that. He's a nice man. Very nice man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he do have a Purple Heart, though. Because I have a Purple Heart.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And we socialize together and everything. Bob's a very, very nice. He ain't prejudiced, one thing. I'm black and he not prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
He don't have no prejudice streak in him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think. And I do like him for as a friend and everything. And he will come to your aid if he can help you.
Okay, Luscious.
All right.
Take care. There he goes. Jane in Town and Country. Hi, you're on the air at WFLA.
Thank you, Mr. Lassiter. I was told that, listening to you, can anybody buy a gun without qualifying for shooting it and that sort of thing?
Of course.
I find this hard to believe. Do they have to register it?
No.
Where you walk in, put your money down, buy a gun, and wear it?
If you so desire, yeah.
Oh,
starting October 1st.
Oh, surely there must be some mistake there. I happen to own a gun, but I know how to shoot it. I go to the rifle range, and I carry it according to law.
Mm. 8 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome back. Hour number 2 for this Monday, September 14th, 1987. A pathetic first hour. Really pathetic. But, you know, you'll work with what you have to work with. It is an open program today, right up until the 4 o'clock hour. However, I do really enjoy sometimes asking questions, and that's what I will do in this hour. I will ask a question, and you will answer it. That is what we will do in this hour. The question is, according to USA Today, and it happens to be true nonetheless, but front page on USA Today, mortgage rates are headed for the sky again. Expected to be 12% very, very soon. Why isn't the president doing something about it? I mean, I wish I had a nickel for everybody. I heard say things like, well, I voted for Reagan because under Jimmy Carter, mortgage rates were so high, and under Ronald Reagan, they were so low. He lowered the mortgage rates, he lowered the interest rates, and that's why I voted for him. So now I want to know, why isn't he lowering the mortgage rates again? And why isn't he lowering the inflation rate again? I mean, my goodness, that is going up. And all of you people voted for him because he lowered inflation and he lowered those mortgage and interest rates. Why isn't he doing it now? Why do you suppose he is now looking the other way? Well, apparently that's what he's doing. I'll even give you the phone numbers to make it easier to answer this question. Difficulty at all answering this question, since you're also absolutely convinced, or many of you were, that he lowered them in the first place. Well, why isn't he lowering them now? I mean, how about the poor people now trying to buy a house, huh? How about those poor people now trying to get by on a fixed income with the inflation rate going up? Why isn't he lowering them? Why? And I'm a patient man. I will wait. I will wait for you. I'm a very, very patient man. Hi, Todd.
Hi. Bob, I wanted to get back to you about that carrying a concealed weapon and that new law.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently you haven't been watching the paper as close as I have.
Well, Todd, I'd be delighted to speak with you about that. But first of all, please answer my question. Why do you suppose the president isn't lowering mortgage rates now?
Isn't lowering the mortgage rates.
Right. They're headed back up 12% by mid-year. It's
well, a lot of that's not in his control, in my opinion.
Okay.
Anybody could just go into a gun shop, buy a gun, walk out with it, strap it on their shoulder, and walk down the street. I guarantee you, anybody does that, they're going to be in jail in 5 minutes.
No, we didn't say strap it on the shoulder, and actually you could strap it on the shoulder as long as you didn't put a coat over it.
Okay.
Starting October 1, you can display your weapon. You can wear it on your person, and as long as you display it. From wearing a shoulder holster in plain view, from wearing a holster on your hip, plain view.
That's been that way ever since day one of the Constitution.
No, it hasn't, Todd.
Sure it has. Anybody can walk down the street
strap on a gun and try walking down the streets of Tampa this afternoon and see what happens to you.
No, it's by the letter of the law, it would get thrown out of court. You could legally walk down the street with a gun, provided it was not loaded.
Well, Todd, that all changes October the 1st.
Right.
It can now be loaded.
If you have the permit.
You could walk down the street, for example, with a shotgun if it was broken.
If you have a permit.
Well, not starting October 1st, Todd. Any bozo under the sun that can buy a gun can walk down the street with it in his person.
Okay, here's the whole idea about it. They have to apply for the state for the permit.
For a concealed weapon permit, Todd, not for a permit to just walk down the street with a gun on your hip.
Well, then you'd have to come back to just banning all guns. Because anybody who owns a gun could then justifiably just go walk down the street with it. Correct?
That's right, Todd.
Okay. So
anybody that wants to, after October 1st, walk down the street with his gun can do so.
They could do that anyway.
No, they cannot, Todd.
Yeah, they could.
No, they cannot, Todd, by your own admission already.
All right. Let's just talk the concealed part of it. Do they or do they not have to make an application to the state of Florida?
Yes, Todd, everybody knows that.
Okay.
And it's not going to be a lot easier, by the way, to make it.
Okay, so say they have to send in $100 to get this permit.
See, before you had to
right
justify
away, if they're a third
now you don't even have to justify it.
The state ain't even going to give them a permit. So that eliminates three-quarters of the bozos out there that are going to get this permit.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, you cannot just walk into any gun store and buy a gun and walk out of it. There's a waiting period, 24 hours in this county. And there is forms to fill out.
Todd, my young friend. Again, you're not familiar with the new law. That waiting period is gone.
Oh, yeah?
Starting October the 1st. Yeah. Bye-bye, gone.
No.
Yes, Todd.
No, that's not gone.
Todd, there are no longer, as of October the 1st, any local gun ordinances. It is all state now.
All right, let me ask you this. It seems how you supposedly know so much about it. After October 1st, can anybody just walk in, buy a gun, and immediately walk out with it without filling out one application form? Just say, my name is Joe Blow, give me a gun, and I'm gone.
Fill out an application form, so what?
Them application
forms. So what?
Forms,
you can put anything on the application form you want, Todd, and nobody even bothers to check them.
Oh, yeah, they're checked.
Yeah, Todd, occasionally, theoretically, somebody from the state will come by once, maybe every 2-3 years, and kind of leaf through the applications to see if they, look okay.
Well,
they are not checked, Todd. You can walk in, buy a gun, and walk out.
That's not true, because I've bought guns before, and I've had to wait 24 hours.
The law changes. I don't know what they're talking about. And B, even if they did, would still find some kind of justification for arming the populace, that's going to make things all better. You'll feel just so much more secure the next time you're in the shopping mall and half the people are walking around carrying guns. You'll feel really secure about it. Helen in Tarpon Springs, hi, you're on the air, WFLA.
Hi.
Hi, Helen.
I'm not very good at talking on the air, but what I'm getting ready to say is, there's a lot of felons that haven't been caught yet. I mean, criminals that haven't been caught yet, so they don't have a record. So they're going to be strapping guns. And when you pull over that car and they're loaded with drugs, they're going to blow many police officers away now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're pulling over a car and they have something in the car that they don't want you to see.
Well, there's another extraordinary coincidence here. The person who is most likely to go out and buy the gun to protect himself is the very person who runs around saying, "Oh, support the police, support the police." Well, in this particular case, the police almost seem to be unanimously against this type of nonsense.
Well, of course.
But, now, hey, well, I know better than the cops. You support the police, I'll do what I want.
Yeah. Well, supporting the police is by calling the police to do their job. We're not allowed, as I said, I used to be a reserve. You can't go around pulling a gun at everybody. It makes you mad.
Well, if indeed it gets to that point that people are walking around the streets carrying guns in the state of Florida,
ridiculous.
That's the day, and it may be 2 weeks away,
I know,
that I and a lot of other decent people say, to hell with the sunshine. I don't need sunshine that bad.
No, that's true, but you're going to be afraid to give anybody, like the stores that are always being robbed now. I mean, they can't call the police because they're going to be shot. Most of the time they get shot anyways when they are being robbed. They lay on the floor and they blow them away.
Well, at least today, if you see somebody walking down the street carrying his shotgun, or you see somebody walking down the street with a gun in his hand, you can feel reasonably certain that this person is up to no good and you can call the police. But starting 2 weeks and 2 days from today, I guess you can't, because it just might be a good citizen exercising his constitutional right.
What's the use in calling the police? They'll get blown away also.
It's going to be a nightmare.
She was stranded in a snowdrift, and two guys in a van were chasing her, trying to run her down, and they were laughing, and so she pulled out her gun. She put a bullet through the side window and blew out the tires. Now, of course, the two guys were from New Jersey.
That's a great story.
They were apprehended.
Beth, that is a great story, so let me tell you one. There was a car down in a Fort Lauderdale parking lot in a shopping mall, and a grandfather had his kid with him. And he also had a gun in the glove box. And he went into the store to buy something, and while he was in the store, the kid found the gun in the glove box, put it in his mouth, and blew his head off, Beth.
Well, that happens even without a gun law, without open gun law. That happens.
Yeah, Beth, it happens when you have guns around.
I think it's responsible. People.
And it happens a lot more often than people getting caught in snowdrifts with yahoos around chasing them down.
Your no-gooders are going to get a gun regardless if it's an open gun law or it isn't. So this...
I'm not worried about the no-gooders, Beth. I'm worried about the average person out there. He's the one most likely to shoot me. I am not likely to be shot by a quote-unquote criminal. I am likely to be shot by Uncle Joe.
I'm sorry I bothered you.
Well, you did bother me, Beth, and I'm sorry you did, too. Because all of these great stories about people... my sister in Tucson was caught in a snowdrift, and there were two guys chasing her around. Yes, I'm sure it is a true story. I'm positive it's a true story. But for every story you tell me like that, I can tell you 900 stories about innocent people being blown away from average people who aren't criminals, who just lose their cool. I defy anybody in this audience, to search their conscience and find some instance in their lives where they said, in a fit of passion, "I'm so angry I could kill you." It happens. And guess what also happens when you've got a gun? More often than not, you do. You kill them. Guess what? The people who need their guns couldn't care less. They couldn't care less about all the little kids that are going to get killed. They couldn't care less about all the other people, the adults, the innocent adults who are going to get killed. No, they got to have their guns. Because the criminals are coming after me. Even though time and time and time again it is statistically shown and proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that your chances of being shot by a criminal are about the same as your chances of being struck by lightning. Virtually nil. But your chances of being shot by your next door neighbor, your chances of being shot by your grandfather, your chances of being shot by your daughter, are relatively high. And they increase geometrically with the number of guns in the hands of your neighbors and your grandfathers and your daughters. But the gun nuts couldn't care less. The gun nuts got to have their guns. And they will go to any extreme, drag up any asinine story to justify their case. And surely before this afternoon is over, you will hear somebody say, we need them for when the Russians come. First thing the commies do when they go into a country is take away the guns. That's the first thing the commies do. And then you can sit there and tell them about the gun laws in Japan. Or you can sit there and tell them about the gun laws in England. And how they don't have any problem with the commies coming in. But it does no good because these people love to scrape the bottom of the barrel, and these people just make it a point to not listen to reason and logic and reality. Because these people are apparently less than human without their guns. They gotta have them. They gotta have them. Kitty in Dunedin, hi, you're on the air, WFLA.
Outlaw cars because they kill far and away more people than the guns do, so we ought to take away cars.
Yeah.
And then I guess next we'll outlaw bicycles because people do get killed operating a bicycle.
Oh, that makes a great deal of sense, Mike.
And I think maybe we ought to outlaw electricity because a lot of people get killed with 110 volts coming in their house, you know. But I don't know what you're going to do.
I tell you, Mike, that makes so much sense. You know, just the other day I was in a bar and I saw a husband and wife having a fight, and the husband got up and he walked over and picked up a lamp. And he broke the cord on the lamp, came back over to the table, plugged it in, and stuck that wire right in his wife and shocked her to death, yeah.
Oh, gosh, Bob, you were there too, eh?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, it does sound kind of silly for you to constantly try to take away the weapons legitimately and legally from people that would gladly probably give them up if you had a law against it to be the criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, after October the 1st, I walk down the street and be a little nicer to my fellow human being in case he's armed. Especially a guy like you carrying a gun.
Mike, I don't know.
God forbid, put an unlicensed...
Get off my phone, Mike. You can't hold a conversation, tough luck. Now you can just listen to the other side. I don't know of a gun, Mike, as I was trying to say, that didn't start out being a legal weapon. All those guns in the hands of the criminals, Mike, they all started out being legal weapons, each and every one of them. Didn't they, Mike? Bill in St. Petersburg, you're on air, WFLA.
Hello, Bill. Bob.
Right.
Bob, this is Bill. I just want...
After the hour of 2 o'clock. You see, I put myself in one of these boxes. Oh, by the way, welcome back. Hour number 3 on Bob Lassiter. I put myself in one of these boxes where clearly, you know, the overwhelming majority of us are in the wrong. And I guess what I'm asking you to do is to admit that you're wrong. And that's something that people just have a very difficult time doing. Because, you see, just a handful of us, we great Americans, we great Floridians, feel this overwhelming compulsion and desire to own weapons, and the overwhelming majority of us are absolutely appalled by such thoughts. But the handful of us go out and twist arms and get their way, while the rest of us are just too busy thinking about other things. You know, oh my goodness, they're killing little doggies at USF. Oh, this is awful. I have to stop this. While the other buffoons are getting their way and changing life and making life very unlivable, making life miserable for the rest of us. And I guess, in essence, what I'm asking you to do is to admit that you're wrong and hope against hope that the next time around you'll pay some attention to what is going on. Now, very, very foolish man that I am, that's the box I've put myself in this afternoon. So, you know, we'll just kind of maybe wander off onto something else. You know, hey, maybe we could talk about the stupid things that the Pope has been saying, you know? Did you catch it in the newscast? Talking in Arizona, the Pope said, well, this is clear evidence that the phrase God enriches is evident in Arizona. I wonder what he's going to say when he gets to Detroit and he's, being driven through the slums. Maybe he'll say something like, well, this is clear proof that God has a sense of humor. I just love stupidity. But, I guess you guys do, too. Just love hearing people say stupid things as long as it doesn't really, make you think or anything like that. Also wonder, how many of you listening today know personally or have come in contact with somebody who's been, stuck up by a criminal with a handgun? I wonder how many of you there are out there, and I wonder how many of you there are who know somebody who committed suicide with a gun. Carolyn in Newport Richey, hi, you're on the air, WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, Carolyn.
First, I wanted to say with your
Yeah, Hitler took over Poland in one day because they had strict gun laws. No, Hitler took over Poland in one day because he had a big army and Poland didn't.
In psychology, there's a term called penis extension. You're aware of it, I'm sure.
Yes, I am.
Well, a while ago, you used the term about certain men who covet guns and have an obsession with guns as thinking of guns as a part of their anatomy.
Yeah, and a lot of women apparently have guns because they don't have that part of the anatomy.
Absolutely.
You can talk about anything. Fleas, snakes. Maybe you know about a marching band tournament coming up that you'd like to publicize. Or something along those lines.
Good, because there are a lot of insane people out there. And
now they can be armed too, Don.
That's right, and I'm crazy, but I'm not insane. Because you got to be crazy to be sane, right?
Whatever you say, Don.
Well, right. But I'll tell you what, I do have a lot of weapons. Mm-hmm. And that is the key issue.
Yeah, now you're probably going to get a chance to use them, Don.
Why? The only time that I would use my weapons are either at the range, because I was in the military. I do enjoy weapons. It is not an extension of my anatomy because I don't need that extension. I'm fine as I am. But if someone does
I'm glad to hear that you're well endowed, Don. I'm sure it makes your wife or your girlfriend happy too.
Yeah, well, I have 5 kids, and I'll tell you, if someone comes into my house to just see how it feels to kill, hey, if it's between them and my family, it's going to be them if I have the chance.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Don. I was a little concerned as to, which side you'd go on.
Well, okay, if someone breaks into your home and they have a gun or a knife, you're not going to try to protect yourself?
Oh, of course not, Don, no.
Well...
Bleeding heart liberal, Don.
Well, that's your problem.
Probably, hide behind my wife or something and use her as a shield.
Well, I do believe in the law.
2 dogs, I could use them too.
But what they should do is have stricter when you go and purchase a weapon.
Oh, I thought you said you were in favor of the new law, Don.
No, I am in favor.
That's the way you started the conversation off. I was positive that's the way you started the conversation.
I am in favor of them not passing the law. They should make stricter gun laws.
Then I apologize because I was positive. You started off the conversation by saying that you favored the new law.
If I did, I apologize for missteering it.
Okay.
But, yes, they should have stricter gun laws. But what I'm saying is that if I do enjoy weapons, okay, I do like to go out shooting. I am a hunter.
I have no problem with that.
But if someone comes into my house with a weapon, such as a gun, then I'm going to defend my family with equal force or more.
Well, you see, Don, I wish that we lived in a world where you didn't feel it necessary to be armed in your own house.
Well, you have to now.
Well, I don't know that you have to, but I am willing to concede to you.
Well, you're going to let someone come in and rape all your kids and your wife?
Please let me finish. I am willing to concede to you that you have legitimate concerns and fears for the safety of your family. I am therefore willing to concede to you the right to be armed in your own home, provided that you know how to use the damn thing, provided you do not have a history of criminal or mental instability.
Well, that's where you come in when you purchase a weapon. They don't check them hardly anymore.
I am not some type of lunatic who would well, frankly, I would love to see all guns recalled, but I'm not so naive as to believe it can be done. It can't.
No, there's no possible way, because I know I wouldn't give up my weapons.
But to allow people now to just arm themselves and walk out on the streets for whatever reason, it is literally insanity.
Now, I do carry a weapon in my van or my car or my truck. Okay, now, if I was coming across, remember that state trooper that got...
I can't wait to see what's going to happen when this new law goes into effect, and theoretically, somebody's walking down the street selling encyclopedias door to door.
And he's not going to like the encyclopedia. He's going to blow him away.
No, he's going to have a gun on his hip when he comes up and knocks on your door. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen when you look out the window and see somebody walking up your walk with a gun on his hip. That's going to be interesting.
Sure. And if they come up to my doorstep, I'm going to pull out my weapon behind something that's safe and tell them to drop it and let's talk. And at that time, I'm going to call the law and get them to take the idiot away.
Oh, he'll apparently, Don, be perfectly within his rights, to be honest.
He's
knocking on your door.
If the people allow this bill to go through, they're all insane.
For 2 years.
Well, it's definitely insane.
Thank you, Don.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hillsborough, 990-93 seconds while I frantically run down the hall and get a newspaper and tell you where it has gone in the last 6 months?
I don't want you to frantically run down the hall because this is my nickel. Since it is open forum, and I have called before.
The television camera that you are so fond of referring back to, he did not give credit. We all know that, Don.
Bob, give me an example of where he's given credit to Mr. Kinnock when he's made that speech before.
Don, again, I don't have his itinerary in front of me, but everybody in the news media seems to be of the opinion that now that they've searched their brains, they can remember him giving credit before. But, so what?
Well, okay.
So what, Don?
Yeah, so what, of course, when
I guess John F. Kennedy should have resigned as well from the presidency because he borrowed a phrase in his inauguration speech and didn't give credit for it.
Okay, in a segment on CNN today, the question came up of just when did Senator Biden give any credit to Mr. Kinnock of when he has used this.
Okay, Don, I'll go along with you. Let's give the SOB the chair, okay? Does that make you happy?
No, that does not make me happy, but I at least would like to see the liberals air things out instead of every time a conservative topic comes up, the liberal media.
Don, what damage has been done to anybody by Senator Biden's faux pas? What damage, Don? Has anybody's life been affected?
Well, you keep telling us.
Has anybody's life been affected, Don? What damage is there?
I think there's a lot of damage.
Well, for example.
I really do.
For example, Don.
Well, I think number one, it has damaged his chance to be a president.
Well, so he's damaged himself, but he hasn't damaged anybody else, Don?
Okay, now let me just bring up one other thing.
Well, no, Don, I want to know what damage has been done. I mean, you want the man to resign and to drop out and all this kind of... What damage has been done, Don?
All right, I think it would be damage if it gives people the idea that they can use other people's speeches and writings without... that is damage.
It's done all the time anyway, but that's besides the point. Sure it is, Don.
In other words, you condone plagiarism.
Don, have you ever used a phrase that someone else used?
Of course I have, but I have not. I have not ever made a.
So I guess you're a thief too, then, Don.
No, I have never made a speech where I've lifted practically the whole speech from someone else.
Well, that's very commendable. I'm glad to hear that.
But of course, he being a liberal, it must be exactly right with you. Is that right, Bob?
Oh, I'm not a liberal, Don.
Oh, really?
Really?
Gee, this thing is trying to scare the population about the guns. You say that 2 weeks from now that people are going to be running around with all these guns.
They will be legally entitled to do so, Don.
I'd like to hear from you about 3 or 4 weeks from now and give us all these examples of how this gun bill has damaged society. And the lady that called up said she'd never go to the mall again. I can't believe that.
Well, Don, I think a lot of people will never go to the mall again if they walk in and find people walking around with guns.
I don't think
myself included.
Bob, I don't believe you're going to find that.
I don't know whether or not you will, Don, but what I do know is that it is legally possible as of October the 1st.
Well, I think
it is permissible as of October the 1st.
I think you're going to find out that the people who still are carrying guns are those who have some malice, who have things on their mind other than being peace-loving citizens. But
Don and Lutz is boring.
Yeah, right.
My God,
so you, Bruce. Don in St. Petersburg. Apathy. Looking in the other direction. I mean, don't you wish you had a nickel? Don't you wish you had a nickel for every time you've heard a talk radio program on guns and gun control that you sat there and agreed with and then did nothing about? Don't you wish you had a nickel for each one? Wish you had a nickel for each one? Hell, you could probably go out and buy yourself a gun.
World. It is good news for men. Women are not going to wear their dresses any longer this year.
I really don't know how the last thing in the world I really expected to talk about today, because I find it incredibly depressing. I find it depressing because, well, first of all, there are so many people out there who can find the most inane excuses for their guns, and I find it depressing because there are so many people out there who just look in the other direction. It's a no-win situation. Daphne in St. Petersburg, hi, you're on the air.
Bob?
Yes, Daphne.
This fellow who's talking about plagiarism, how about our fearless leader who quotes from his old movies all the time and pretends it's original? I don't have anything in front of me, but I hear on good authority that he does that.
Yeah, I've heard so too, Daphne.
And I haven't been listening all last